The numbers of people suffering with chronic, complex medical illnesses is going through the roof. And what do I mean by this? Well, I'm talking about the people who are suffering from a very broad range of symptoms that's taking over their life that no one's able to pinpoint down for them. They'll have things like brain fog and crippling anxiety and terrible irritable bowel disease and joint and muscle pain that sometimes stops them being able to get out of bed, and the worst chronic fatigue syndrome that anyone could have ever experienced. And sometimes it gets so bad that then they become sensitive to everything. Light, sounds, chemicals, smells. Any of those things can just send their body into a massive tailspin or even shut it down because they're so sensitive and overloaded. Well, why is this happening? Well, this frightening increase is happening because we're exposed to this massive toxic load these days that we weren't exposed to years ago. In fact, when I graduated as a chiropractor 19 years ago, I might meet a handful of people a year who had these chronic symptoms that were as bad as this, that were as sick and sensitive as this. Now I meet people every day who have this, and like I said at the start, the numbers are just skyrocketing. And then what happens is, even if you find a doctor who knows how to diagnose these things, the treatment protocols are often not working, or not the treatment protocols that were working 5 or 10 years ago, because people are becoming even more sensitive and more overloaded. So we really have to change the way we look at these complex illnesses, the way we diagnose them and the way we treat them. Because the first big obstacle that people run into is that diagnosis piece. They go to their regular doctor, and conventional medicine isn't really equipped to deal with this stuff. Conventional medicine likes symptoms to be in a nice little box. We can label it, we can throw a drug or a treatment at it, and then that's going to take care of it. But it doesn't work with these symptoms. A lot of MDs have never seen these symptoms. They don't understand some of these underlying root causes that can be there. And they start sending you off to all these specialists to run all these tests, and ultimately, no one can find anything that's wrong because your symptoms are so global and diffuse and really impossible to pin down to any one place. It almost doesn't make sense to them that so many body systems could be involved, because that's not how it normally works. So then what often happens is you get dismissed completely. You're either told that, sorry, we can't find anything that's wrong, you just have to live with it, or it's all in your head. But just because your doctor can't find the cause of these symptoms, you cannot believe that lie that it's all in your head. Your symptoms are very real, and there are answers. But what so often happens is your family starts to believe what the doctor said. You look normal on the outside, and so your doctor thinks there's no way you could be that sensitive. Your family members start to believe that. But you eat healthy, you work out, or you did, you look healthy, you're not overweight or obese, or dealing with maybe conditions that people would say, okay, maybe that makes sense. So then they don't believe it. Think about it though. You go and tell your husband or your wife, hey, so I've got this crippling anxiety. My pain can be so bad some days I can't get out of bed. I can sleep 10 hours and still wake up exhausted like I haven't slept for 4 days. My brain doesn't work. I forget the simplest things. Certain smells cause electrical sensations all throughout my body. If there's too much light, I get a major migraine that feels like my head's going to explode. But I look great. What's your spouse going to think about that? They're going to think, oh my gosh, he or she is crazy. So it makes sense that no one understands it, but you can't start believing that, because then you'll ask yourself that question, that same question. Am I actually crazy? Well, you're not. I can tell you you're not, and there's a number of things underlying this that I'm going to get into in the next few videos, like mold and Lyme disease and parasites that can and do cause all of these symptoms on quite a grand scale. Then the next issue you'll run into is, okay, maybe you get the right diagnosis, but then it's finding someone who can do the right treatment for you. Like I said, even if you find a functional medicine doctor, they might be using a treatment that works on some people, but everyone's so unique with these complex conditions that there's a lot of tweaking that has to go on, and more isn't always better. You might do fine up to a point, and then you start to cascade back down, and you might say, no, I want to tough through it, but that's sometimes the worst decision you can make. Or you'll be starting to get good help, and then you'll have a conventional doctor or someone else tell you there's no evidence to support the treatments you're using, which is absolutely crazy to me, because if conventional medicine can't help you, if they don't diagnose you properly, then they don't have any treatments that are helping you. And then you find a functional medicine-based doctor or chiropractor or whoever else, and they are helping you. How can anyone sit there and tell you there's no evidence for that? You are the evidence. If you're the person who has chronic fatigue and depression and brain fog and all these generally hard to describe symptoms, and you're super hypersensitive, and all of a sudden there's a treatment that's working for you, that is evidence, because it's not placebo. You're not making that up. You're going to know if you're feeling better or not. But if you do have all of those symptoms, at the very least, you've got to go and get tested for mold, for parasites, for Lyme disease and the co-infections that go with that. I'd also recommend checking the heavy metal and just overall environmental chemical levels in your body so that you truly know what you've got, so that you can then piece together everything in order and priority of what's the primary driver, so I can start dealing with that and then help the body get rid of the other things and just cascade our way down. So you get that correct diagnosis, then you can go and start getting the right treatment. But you've got to work with someone who understands the subtleties and nuances of it, because if you start to go into a tailspin, we can't just pump more at it just because it was working. But if you do all of these things correctly, anywhere from 6 months to 6 years, because everyone's different, you can get your life back and get all of these things under control and get back to 100%. But it won't be simple. It won't be the same cookie cutter approach, because you might be that person that one simple herb or supplement that shouldn't harm anyone blows your body up, and then it's back to the drawing board. But that's okay, because there's a whole range of different things we can use depending on what you're diagnosed with. So if these symptoms sound like you, or these frustrations are causing you to nod your head, watch out for the other videos in this playlist that I'm making to give you more pointers and ideas. But if you need fresh eyes on your case, click in the description below this video and find the link to my discovery call, and let's get together and chat and get you back on the right path so that you can get your life back and just get back to a normal life. That's all anyone deserves to have. So I'd love to chat with you and help you get back on that path.